2 games are under Victor Wembanyama's belt. Pop got himself a new contract. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts, on the Kings 5 Plus app, YouTube. Pick your platform. We are there, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Quick disclaimer. I know I've been doing a lot more videos lately, but, and yes, everybody, I did pay my internet bill, but major internet issues over here at Locked On Spurs Central has been going in and out all day. I didn't want to run the risk of it going out during a video session. So just for today, we're going to do audio only. Hopefully, it'll clear up by tomorrow. So as you heard, we are looking at 2 games for Victor under his belt, Summer League. But so far, so good. This is so great because it kind of balances out. Game 1, game 2. We'll see what he does in the rubber game in game 3, if he does play at all. But yeah, I think Spurs fans are liking what they see out of the young man. In game 1, sure, it wasn't electric. Sure, it didn't bring up people up off their seats, but you got a glimpse. You saw a little bit of what he can potentially bring to San Antonio. A little bit of this, a little bit of this, column A, column B, column 1, column 2. And sure, he didn't shoot the ball well, but you still saw stats spread out across the stat sheet. You fast forward to game 2 versus the Blazers, 180, taking a shot, making those buckets, getting double-figure scoring, being a lot more aggressive. The pattern here, people, is that you got to give him time to cook. He openly said it, too, after game 1. He said, I wasn't ready. I barely got any practice time. I was a little tired. He goes, I don't know what I was doing out there. Okay, so you let him cook a little bit. Sure, it was Summer League, but you give him a day and a half to get things going. And what happened? Game 2 comes on the scene, plays the Victor game that we all thought he can do. And that's going to be the blueprint for him once the season starts. Don't be surprised if he has a stretch of games where he just looks like that game 1 in Las Vegas, but then rebounds and plays well like we saw in game 2. It's the life of an NBA rookie. No matter if he's the number 1 pick or he's the last pick. They all go through this. Heck, NBA veterans go through this too. How many times when DeMar DeRozan was a Spur and he had bad shooting nights? String of them. We talked about it. It happens. It just happens. So, pump the brakes, everybody. You got to realize that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint for Victor. And if you keep your ears open, Pop, Brian Wright, everybody's been saying it to your face that Victor is Victor. He's going to cook on his own time. So as much as you're excited, I know our guest is excited to have a franchise player like Wemby in town. I'm excited. Everybody who's listening in is thrilled to know what can be. But to get there, you got to get through these little hurdles first. You got to get through these bumps and bruises first. Wemby had a mark on his face. He got a little welcome to NBA moment. He got a little nick on his cheek there. He's probably going to have thousands of them, millions of them, hundreds of them every day, every time he plays. Again, what does Pop say? What's that mantra in the locker room? Hitting that rock, hitting the rock, chipping it away. And you take every step along the way. And what does Pop always preach? Don't skip steps. Well, part of the steps is having poor outings, and also part of the steps is having great outings. So it's good to see him playing well, at least in game 2. We'll definitely see if he can do that again in game 3. But until then, just brace yourself now. More of that, what you saw, is likely going to happen during Victor's first NBA season. Let's go to bring in our guest. He is my colleague at Kens 5 San Antonio. He is Casey Viera, weekend anchor on the sports side of things. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Casey_Viera. And Casey, are you doing what the kids are doing now on Threads? Are we cool? Can we get on Threads? Are we cool enough to do that?
First question, yeah, I am. Second, I don't know how cool.
What's your Threads handle? I gotta get
theoretically.
used to saying that now because we gotta get everybody on Threads because like Twitter is like dying out.
Hold on, let me check.
Basically, your Instagram, right? It's basically whatever your Instagram is. That's what your thread is.
I
Yeah.
think it's just Casey Viera with no underscore, contrary to Twitter, which is Casey_Viera. Let me see. Since you asked, it is just Casey Viera, one word.
There it is. Follow Casey on Twitter at Casey_Viera and on Threads at Casey Viera. He makes life easy to follow him, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Absolutely.
Very, very approachable, user-friendly guy you can talk to about sports.
I was going to say, you changed yours. You're not Jeff G. Spurs Zone. You're what now? On the Threads?
On the Threads. Yeah, well, yeah, people have been asking me about my Threads name because it was like something wild.
10-5 essay. There it is.
Yeah. Well, initially, I had a dummy Instagram page, and I just used like the first words that came into my mind or what I saw in my room kind of thing. Like, or I'm San Antonio, I'm watching Stars on TV, and I like Spurs. And I put SA Star Spurs or something like that. And it was just a dummy page just to have an account, but I never used it for years. Mm-hmm. If you go to that Instagram profile, it's nothing. There's no pictures, no nothing. And then when Threads came along, and I said, okay, I got to fix this up. But here we are. We're now part of the cool kids now. Yay.
Yep.
All right. Let's dive into this, Casey. 2 games under Victor's belt out in Las Vegas. What do you like? What don't you like? What are you seeing?
I feel pretty good about things. Especially after the second performance. That kind of goes without saying. But I felt like in that first game, and really for about the first quarter and a half, give or take, of the second game, he didn't really look engaged. He looked, and he said it himself. You know, he said he felt lost out there. And true to the part, he looked it. He did look lost. He looked like he was just kind of going out there for the sake of going out there. It looked, they always make fun of guys every now and then in the NBA saying, oh, such and such went out there and had 30 minutes of cardio with that empty stat line. And he kind of had the body language of that. I wasn't as much concerned with the numbers on the offensive side. I was a little bit concerned with just the fact of his body language through that first game and first quarter or so, the second game. But when he figured it out, it was everything that we had been YouTubing for a year and a half now, all coming to fruition. And it was all very encouraging. And I think that's just kind of attributed to confidence, and that's what he alluded to after the game, feeling more confident and expectedly so. So beyond that, the bigger thing I do like was that he really found his footing by, we're operating under the assumption that we're not going to see him the rest of the way, but
right.
In the second game, it seemed like he found his footing and felt more comfortable. I have more. That is my overriding feeling in the sense of feeling good. It's about that as opposed, or at least paramount to, all the flashy stuff that he does.
I know everybody had that reaction after game 1, where that everybody's expecting the French League Wemby, the guy who played in Vegas versus Scoot in that exhibition game, that Wemby. Even though there weren't those numbers, Casey, I think I was in the minority. I was okay with his play simply because when I looked at the stat sheet, I go, okay, this is a good foundation. He's going to give you little points. He's going to give you some blocks. He's going to give you some rebounds. And I think we're discounting that he looked like he could be a good passer in the NBA in game 1, looking for his teammates, having those pinpoint tosses to his his teammates there. So I think Spurs, or just NBA, or just fans in general, made a big deal over that. I thought it was okay. Am I wrong for thinking that?
No, I don't think so. I think because there were definitely reasons to feel confident about things, and you saw that especially on the defensive end. But a lot of that, to me, with that, those things that you're talking about in the first game, it was almost kind of like instinct. Like the good stuff was, and this is encouraging in my mind because it shows you he's got that really good foundation.
Mm-hmm.
He was just kind of playing off instinct, just kind
Mm-hmm.
of talent alone, so to speak, not a matter of trying to fit in schematically, systemically, things like that. Smart plays in transition. There was the one where he had the dump off pass to who was
Mm-hmm.
it, Barlow?
Right.
Was it Barlow on the fast break? Yeah,
I think it was,
and that
but
was
I thought it was Wesley. But the point is, he's finding the guys.
yeah. The point of the matter is that he was making the smart, fundamental, instinctual play that needed to be done in that first game, and then the second game, I think you saw him fit in a little bit more. And collectively, I think that's what you want. So, no, going back to your point, I think there was reason to feel good despite the numbers not being there after the Hornets game.
Absolutely. We're going to dive deeper into Wemby's first two games out in Las Vegas right here on Locked On Spurs with Casey Viera of Ken's 5 San Antonio. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Casey_Viera and on Threads, Casey Viera, no underscore. Keep that in mind. Hey, it's officially summer. It's about to close out, but don't worry about it. Just because a new season is upon us, you're probably going to get some new clothes and you're thinking like, oh my God, my closet, how much more clothes can I pack in there? Look, I get it. You're probably going to go out shopping. That's where Ibotta comes in. Now you can watch your cash grow with each and every purchase with Ibotta. It makes shopping a little more easier to swallow and looking forward for some cash back. Ibotta gives you that cash back on hundreds of grocery items, stores, personal care, pantry goods, you name it, they'll likely give you that cash back. So you can either link your loyalty account or upload that receipt after you shop and get your cash back. Super easy. On average, Ibotta users earn $120 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, or you could use your cash back to buy that flight you've been eyeing, that game you're dying to go to, or that fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points on hundreds of online brands and retailers, but look, now with Ibotta gives you real cash back. You can put it to your bank account, PayPal, gift cards. So whether it's Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, so many other spots, you got to try Ibotta. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it out by using code LOCKED when you register. Just go to the App Store, Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, use code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKED. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Casey Viera of Ken's 5 TV San Antonio. Follow him on Twitter at Casey_Viera. And I believe he is the only known person in the universe that can handle Wemby on the post, on the break, defend him, shut him down. Spurs should have drafted you number one.
I was going to say, don't make too many jokes about that because my man wasn't exactly looking immaculate in that first game when he had the double teams collapsing in the post. So
yeah,
don't start making the punchlines because he wasn't exactly invincible in that first game.
Hey, well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Either you're pointing out some truth here, but I think Spurs fans should already just get this in their head already. He's not going to be Wemby mania every single game in and game out because I think we're losing the fact that he's a teenager. He's going to get bodied. We're already starting to see it out in Las Vegas. I mean, we saw a couple players drop him to the floor. We saw a player I guess the Blazers just literally go up to him and rip the ball out of his hands. And I think that's something that Spurs fans should start getting accustomed to, that he's probably going to have a lot of ups and downs to start his NBA career.
Oh, without a doubt. Plays like that are going to happen.
Yeah.
19 years old, and really it's going to happen to any 19-year-old fresh into the league, let alone a guy who's not exactly, a mountain of muscle over there. It's going to be part of it, no doubt. Yeah,
and look, I think that's one of the bigger takeaways so far through two games is that he needs to get stronger. There's just no doubt about that. That's something that's just going to come with time. You look at the Spurs. I'll give you an example, Casey. Buried in my photo collection, I have a picture of Keldon Johnson on the night before he got drafted on NBA Draft Media Day. He looks like a toothpick. a
I was
toothpick.
gonna say he's
Yeah,
visited
yeah,
Misieta a few times since then.
exactly, exactly. And then I'm curious to go like, when did he start putting size on? So I looked at his rookie season. He started getting noticeably bigger right after the All-Star break. Like right there, he starts getting a little thicker and a little thicker, and now he's definitely filled out. It was rapid. It was so
Yeah.
fast.
And
But
then he got too thick and he had to slim down before the start of last season.
yeah, 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 yeah. And but with Wemby, it's so different because of the history of players his size and the fear of adding too much heaviness to his body, like muscle, just muscle mass versus getting stronger. We had Dr. Ryan McCorkle on yesterday, Casey. He spoke about that. He said basically, he said that he would recommend start for Wemby if he was on the Spurs training staff to get his middle, his trunk stronger, and his legs a little thicker. He goes, that will just help so much. And he goes specifically, he would help and try to focus on his lower back. He said, get the lower back going. And he said he'll be fine. But outside of that obvious one of getting stronger, what are you seeing like perhaps that is maybe concerning you a little bit as far as X's and O's are concerned after 2 games out in Vegas?
I think part of this was maybe him being too transparent for his own good and not knowing any better, and that'll come with
Mm-hmm.
time with the people, behind the scenes in the Spurs. But him talking about his conditioning after that first game, with him being like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, I was gassed at 4-minute windows at a time." I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how much of that is valid. There might even be somewhat of a language barrier at that point, and what he meant to say was something not as strong as it came off, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
It could even be something like that. But if you do take him to his word, it's hard not to, acknowledge that conditioning part. And for the people who are watching it on TV, like us,
Mm-hmm.
who saw the close-ups of him checking out of the game, looking like he needed to sit down a minute, I mean,
Right.
kind of checks out. It checks out with what he's
Sure.
saying. And yeah, and considering that comes by his own admission, kind of hard for me to not acknowledge that that's, at least in some context, a
Mm-hmm.
relatively cautionary thing.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. If I had to put a letter grade on it, I would give it after game 2 now a B plus. I think there's still a little concern with free throws, and I think it's still too small of a sample size. Still, but he bricked a couple of free throws to start the game versus the Blazers. He obviously was shaky, not only from the field but also from the free throw line in game 1. So hopefully that's not a pattern. Maybe it's a good pattern, Casey, because Tim Duncan struggled with free throws. So, if
Yeah,
that's an
right.
omen of things to come, then yay, Wemby. But I would like to see that. I also like to see him maintain his aggressiveness. I like what I saw in game 2, trying to, put one on people. But again, I think the perfect example of the good and the bad in the short term right now is in good in game 2, Casey. He was aggressive and he was going to the rim and he was trying to get somebody on his poster, but the defender bodied him and he couldn't complete it. Can you
Right.
imagine when he has that with that strength and the explosiveness and the length going to the rim? My goodness, Casey, forget about it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hypothetical we've been talking about a long time, right? How many
Yeah.
how many times how many times over the past year have we said, once he puts a little weight on, once he puts a little muscle on, that's probably what you're looking for. But something I think will be interesting, and I wonder if Doc's take certainly would have been valid there too.
Yeah.
Is the best way to build Victor up is to keep him more of the Durant frame as opposed to the Giannis frame? Because I
Hmm.
feel like his game fits, if you're going to model it a little bit or parallel it, if you will. I know it's hard to, but if you were to parallel it, it certainly looks more Durant than Giannis.
Hmm. For sure.
And right, and
Yeah, it does. It does.
and I can't envision him being as smooth as he is, and 6-7 years from now at that Giannis frame. So it's almost kind of like you obviously want to put on weight, but do we want to turn him into a
Zion-looking beast
size?
or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't play like a brute. Giannis is a running back. He goes the distance of the floor and takes hits along the way and won it. But and Giannis's game is completely different from Victor's game. So I think that's a conversation that's I don't know. So somehow along the lines it came up the other day, and I was thinking about it. I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe the KD route really is to go here. The way to go.
No, I mean, and I think that is the path that at least right now it looks like it could take. Other paths. The Spurs. For all we know, he could just be an amalgamation of players. He could be the Durant path. He can be that Boris Diaw big passing out, of the post or on the break. He's just made up of so many things right now. And that's what makes him so unique is that once he does, he's close to it. He puts it together on the NBA level and it just starts to wreck shop. Yeah, you're going to see a little bit of this. I'm not going to be, Casey, they're already saying how he has a Dirk Nowitzki like leg up in the air 3-point shot. So they already say he has that in his bag. He has the KD track, as you're mentioning. The fluidity on the court. Very fluid, like a dream, Olajuwon. So he looks like he's just going to be literally the definition of an alien. Casey is shaping up that way.
So we've been told.
We've been
going
told.
Off YouTube highlights, that's for sure.
Yeah, and by the way, the other, body frame, I guess muscular, they can go with is the Casey Viera route. I think they should try that.
Stop.
No, bad idea.
Don't
do it.
It'll be out. This dude will. This poor guy will hear Britney Spears jokes for the rest of his life if that happens.
He is Casey Viera.
Actually, now that I say that, he's going to hear Britney Spears. You know how many times he's going to go into some of these visiting arenas and he's going to hear Britney Spears chant?
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
That's going to be all year.
It's all you're going to hear. Oops, I did it again. It's probably going to be a one where if he bricks a shot or he turns the ball over or something. Probably going to hear that drop so many times. He is Casey Viera with San Antonio's KENS 5 TV. He is the weekend sports anchor. Follow him on Twitter at Casey_Viera. When we get back, we're going to talk about Pop on board, contractually at least, for 5 more seasons. We're going to give our reaction to that and much more right here on Locked On Spurs. We're back on Locked On Spurs with Casey Viera, my good friend over at KENS 5 TV. Casey and I go way back, even before he was with KENS 5. And when he was at a different outlet, he's grown so much. I feel like a proud dad right now, Casey.
Yeah, you're old enough.
I'm proud of you. Oh, okay, moving right along. Moving right along. Before we do that, follow him on Twitter at Casey_Viera. So Popovich and the Spurs, they agreed to a 5-year contract. So he's on board to, he'll be 79 by the time that's over.
79 if he stays the duration of it. Yeah,
if he stays the duration of it. Look, we'll get into the meat of it right now, but can I tell you my first reaction when I saw the press release?
Talk to me.
I don't think I've ever seen the Spurs do that. Ever.
Acknowledge an extension like that?
Yeah.
For Pop? Yeah.
For him. And then 2, why does it feel like, this is my reaction, feel like a parting gift? That, that's what it felt like. When I saw it, it felt like, that thank you for your service kind of deal.
I mean, it happens. It happens, and it is if we're being fair, it is well deserved. If we're being fair, if that, all right, say like okay, what was the Monty Williams thing? Monty Williams got like 79,
70, 79 now,
something like whatever it is.
Yeah,
and Pop's got somewhere closer in the ballpark of 60. I don't think a lot of us would have really batted an eye, right?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a do good by him. And another thing too, man, we don't even know if he's going to stay the duration of it. So
that's what I'm saying.
We don't know the details. Yeah, the details of whether or not that 80 is guaranteed, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that went into the
Well,
thought
I'm pretty sure
process.
it's guaranteed. I'm pretty sure it's
Well, I mean,
guaranteed.
I
Yeah.
mean, if he's like annually, it's guaranteed. But if he
Yeah.
bounces after year 3, I mean,
Yeah.
why would they be paying him? What's the math on that? That would be
Sure.
what, 32 for 2 years?
Yeah. Yeah. The
I
other
mean,
thing too, is that you hit on the head. We don't have the details, the fine print. So, unlike NBA players, they're like, oh, he has a player option on this year, or he has a team option, or he has a no trade clause or no trade clause. We don't know those kind of things about coaches' contracts for the most part. So yeah, just because he signed a 5-year deal, Casey, doesn't mean he could stay the whole 5 years. I mean, I
right,
guess he could. I mean, his kids are grown. He's a widower now. What more can he do? I mean, if I was him, I probably would have been like my next flight to the tour around the world kind of thing, event.
right.
But
Well,
he doesn't seem like he's long for that.
here's something that I think goes to us not knowing the details. This 5-year deal might not just be exclusive to him coaching. It might just be because obviously he has the president of basketball ops title too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
And
is this
if you read
deal?
your press release carefully, they added that in there.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that was like the first thing they said. The
right,
president of basketball operations.
right. So I guess if you're going off that, he could leave the bench after this year and go upstairs, and
Mm-hmm.
4 more years of the 5 years, he would be solely in that basketball ops role. So is that kind of like that that's a tough thing to analyze because we don't know the details.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the conversation, it is all encompassing, that contract. It includes it gives him the opportunity, if he wants to leave the bench to go solely upstairs, he can do that. I could
Yeah.
definitely see a world where he's
Mhm.
only on the bench for a year or two, and then those last
Oh, for
3
sure.
he goes upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
think
just like
so.
everybody says every time if that question comes up, is he done or not done, retiring or not retiring? What does everybody say? He'll leave when he's ready. And I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure after year 1 of his new contract, if he says, all right, I'm good. Wemby's good to go. All the other kids are good to go. I'll peace out. I mean,
Right,
he could do that. He could do that.
right,
And I'm pretty sure if it's binding or hit, they'll honor him to get out of it. But you're right. It's basketball operations as well. Who knows? Maybe all contracts can be renegotiated and they can renegotiate it where he's a consultant or something to that effect. So, but as of right now, you look at it, he will be going through the Wemby rookie contract. So he's there with Wemby for his first 4 seasons. He doesn't look like he's slowing down physically. Wemby said that he's surprised that Pop is very active in the gym. Pop talks about it too. He says every time he's in New York, he walks for blocks, that he does a treadmill. Is it now? Is it that now, Casey? Is 75 the new 55? Is that where we're going on now?
I guess. I mean, if you're,
Right.
I guess.
Casey, if you
I
were
don't know.
70, when you hit 75, can you imagine still working like? Well, then again, look at Pop. Look at the job he has, and the bucks that come in every 2 weeks for him.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say if I'm 75 doing what he does, hell yeah, I'll be working till I'm signing a deal that has me working till I'm 79.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He is Casey Viera of Ken's 5 San Antonio. He is on the sports deck every single weekend, holding it down, giving you everything from the silver and black and more. I think this is like the calm before the storm, Casey, isn't it? Because isn't like Cowboys time coming up soon and Spurs about to
Yeah.
get going? Like, what's going on the sports side of things for you guys over there in Ken's 5?
Oh, thankfully I'm not, because that's Nate Ryan's. That's Nate Ryan's vacation. He's still going to be the one going to Cowboys camp. I'm going to be here in San Antonio and just hanging
Nice and
out, doing my thing. And
comfy. No
yeah,
packing,
nice,
no hotels, no stress
none of
of
that.
flights. Look
No,
at you.
no, that's a long grind, that trip, man.
Oh yeah.
More to everyone who goes out to do that, because it's not just that trip, man. You land
Mm-hmm.
at LAX, and then you got to go grab your rental car, which could be an
Mm-hmm.
hour by itself, because everyone it has to go get a rental car when they get to
Mm-hmm.
LA. And then you got to drive an hour and change to go all the way out to Oxnard from there. That trip
Yeah.
is a beast. That trip is a
Yeah.
beast. I'm like, listen, Jerry Jones, I yeah, I appreciate what you're doing here, but I'm good right now. I'm good, man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Can we go back to the days of Zoom? That was so much
Yeah,
easier.
right.
God, that was awesome. That was so awesome. It still
Yeah,
lingers a little bit, but I was hoping that'd be one of the benefits of the pandemic was that companies and sports clubs and franchises would be like, you know what? This is easier. We can put everybody on a Zoom and moderate it. It's the same exact thing you're doing in live. So, but
you know,
make sure to
you know
go
who
ahead.
blew a 28-3 lead during the pandemic?
Who's that?
Skype.
I forgot about them. Are they still around?
My point exactly. My point. I have no idea if they're still around, but that was like the primary outlet for virtual meetings. Was we'll have a
Yeah.
Skype. We'll,
We
I'm sure.
they should have been like, we've always been here, pandemic or not.
I mean, they got lapped like 10 times over by Zoom.
Oh my god. Can you imagine getting smoked like that when you were
I
around?
know.
It's like having the idea of the wheel and like just looking at the wheel and say, like, hey, I got this, and like just your neighbors know about it. And then one of the neighbors says, I got the wheel too, every world. Check it out. Like, well, wait. You know, your Skype's like, what's going on here? But
I mean,
yeah.
what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like we were here all along, but you didn't talk about it, Skype. But
Uh-huh.
now I want to do a Locked On Spurs on Skype just to say I did one. That just I better log in right now and be like, thank you so much. Get an thank you email from them. We appreciate your business. Spread the word that we're still around.
I got to do a Google search. Are they still up and running? Let's see. Skype.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let me
Yeah,
see.
check that out before I let you go.
Let's see. We got it here. Skype introducing the new Bing. That's all I needed to know.
There you go. There. Yep, that's done. Cooked.
Yeah.
He
I
is
appreciate.
Casey
Yeah,
Viera.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
He is Casey Viera, San Antonio Kens 5. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Casey_Viera and on Threads at Casey Viera. And he'll catch you up on all things Spurs, all things local sports each and every weekend. So make sure to check him out on TV as well. And as always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Hopefully, we'll be back on video tomorrow. Yes, everybody, I paid my internet bill. It's just in and out. I ain't going to risk a video and then looking robotic or Casey getting frustrated. Say, you know what, Jeff, I'm out. I'm dipping. I can't take this anymore. So hopefully, this just, yeah. Because Casey's a busy man.
Run with a television prima donna like me. Right?
You're not a prima donna. I don't think I ever seen you ever being a prima donna ever. Maybe one time. Maybe one time.
That right there is called growth.
I'm kidding. I've never seen Casey do that before. Ever. Even when he was making his transition to Ken's 5, he never was that. The only thing Casey does is like he's good about warning me that Jeff, if we're gonna record, it's gonna be later. Because if anybody's ever done a recording with me, I like to do mine early in the morning. The earlier, the better. You know.
Yeah.
But
I think part of the reason for that is because I just learned largely complaining more often than not about stuff that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't get you anywhere.
And on that,
so I'm like,
yeah,
on that, it's true though. It's like, why am I gonna complain about something just to get it off my chest and be a malcontent and being a pain for somebody else? Like, what does it prove? You know, if it's something that matters, all right, I'm gonna say
sure.
something. But largely for the stuff that doesn't matter, whatever. So basically, I'm saying the vibe that I just gave you is that you don't matter.
But I'm surprised you didn't bust. I'm surprised you didn't bust kind of like a side note here. because I thought I heard it right now in your voice, but I'm surprised you didn't bust me on the New Yorkie thing I said a little while ago.
What was that?
I said forget about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yay!
that's the equivalent of you being in New York for too long. And I mean,
Yeah.
I've lived in Texas / the Southwest for 9 years between El Paso and Louisiana, and
Yeah.
now of course San Antonio. And to this day, I have never said a y'all.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I think I was close. I think I may have lost the y'all. I think I say use.
I could see it.
Yeah, I think I've started doing. Yeah. I better jump ship here now before it starts. It's that old El Paso salsa commercial again from New York City. Get a rope.
I know that commercial, man, is like the most ridiculous thing in the world.
Yeah, they're advocating hanging people. That's what the whole thing. No. They were advocating hanging people in that old commercial. This ending of the show completely went off the rails, so let me get it back on.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, it did. He is Casey Viera. I am Jeff Garcia. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, Can's 5 Plus apps, so many other outlets. You guys are the everydayers. Tomorrow's show, hopefully we'll talk more about Wemby. Don't know if the Spurs are going to shut him down, but who knows? We'll still talk about him and much, much more on Locked On Spurs. So for Casey Viera, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.